Okay, so it didn't work, and you probably know why. You need a phone that supports 5G as well as a 5G network to actually experience 5G. And at the time of recording this video, there is no 5G in Nigeria. Now you might be thinking, why do they make a 5G phone when most countries don't have 5G? And to that I would say, well, the more 5G phones there are, the higher the incentive is for these network providers to actually build the infrastructure needed for 5G. So actually, the more 5G phones we have, the sooner we'll actually experience 5G. But that's great for the future and all. But what about right now? I mean, if the 5G in Pova 5G doesn't work, why should I buy it? Well, if you drop a like on the video right now, I'll tell you right away. Nice. Well, in order for a device to actually support 5G, its chipset has to have a 5G modem in it. So Tecno had to upgrade to the mid-range 5G Dimensity series in order to get 5G, which is a class above the Helio G series that we're so used to. So even though there is no 5G, there's so much performance gain when compared to other previous Tecno smartphones or even other mid-range phones. All that basically means that this phone is a performance beast. It comes with up to 11 gigabytes of RAM thanks to memory fusion, and that makes this phone snappy and quick. Multitasking really is a joy. Apps barely close on here. In fact, I opened 20 different applications, not one restarted. I'm pretty confident in the CPU performance of the Pova 5G. Now, gaming is also really good on here. I'm not much of a gamer, but I did play Asphalt 9 and Dream League Soccer and had no issues at all. So I expect you have basically the same experience with other games too. Izzy did mention in his videos that you might not be able to get the highest graphic settings, but you can get the highest frame rates. And most gamers prefer higher frame rate to actual graphics. So there you go. And as far as heating goes, well, the only time that this phone got warm was when I was outside. I was, I think, taking photos and shooting video. And yeah, it did get warm to the touch. But aside from that, it's been perfectly cool. And that definitely has a lot to do with the Dimensity 900 chipset, which is in this phone. One other advantage is battery life. The chipset is set to improve performance while still improving battery life. And maybe that's true, but the 6,000 milliamp hour battery is definitely a major contributing factor. So yes, 6,000 milliamp hours of battery juice on here. And you can expect to struggle to kill this phone in a day. I ended most days with about 30% battery life left, and I can definitely say on lighter days you can go 2 days without charging, because I did that. But there's a hiccup, and that's with charging. Now it supports 18 watt fast charging, which sounds cool, but it's a 6,000 milliamp hour battery. So it actually takes a long time to fill up, about 3 hours. So it's one of those phones that you actually want to make sure that you plug in before you go to bed. But I guess that's fine, right? If a phone lasts you the entire day, then just plug it in, at night. Okay, I do think that those two features, performance and battery life, are the highlights of the Pova 5G. And 5G, of course, if you can find it. But what about the other features? Let's start with the exterior. Well, if you're a Manchester United fan, look away, because this feels like a Manchester City edition smartphone. From the box to the phone, even to the phone case, which frankly isn't doing much protecting. We've got a glossy finish on the back with a sort of rainbow-esque section underneath the camera module, and then a Manchester City logo on the bottom right and Tecno Pova text on the left. It's a really tall phone, and maybe because I'm just coming off reviewing the Note from Infinix, I kind of got used to it pretty quickly. I like the weight, it feels kind of premium even though it's plastic. And like I mentioned earlier, it's a glossy finish, so that means a lot of fingerprints and smudges. I clean this thing a lot. It has this carbon fiber look, and I thought it looked cool. Its sides are curved, and that helps with grip. So it's a pretty comfortable phone to hold. It's also pretty slippery. And yeah, to avoid, this glossy look, you definitely should wear the case that comes with it, or buy a new one. At the top, we have a microphone, and at the right, we have the volume keys and fingerprint sensor, which is blazing fast. At the bottom, from left to right, we have the headphone jack, second microphone, Type-C port, and speaker. So just one speaker on here. and it's actually pretty loud, but could be blocked while gaming. On the left, we've got the SIM/micro SD card tray, which allows you to use 2 nano SIMs and a micro SD card. And then at the front, we've got an earpiece, dual front-facing flash, and a 16 megapixel camera in a hole punch cutout. Then we've got the display. It's a 6.9-inch IPS LCD display with a resolution of 1080 by 2460. And more impressively, it has a refresh rate of 120 Hz, and of course, you can turn it down to 60 Hz for longer battery or use it in auto switch mode, but I think you wouldn't have to. So as we know, 120 Hz gives a smoother smartphone experience, and it's most noticeable when scrolling and gaming. Now, although it's LCD, not AMOLED, I think it's a good looking display. Colors really look good on here. I want you to tell me what you think in the comments. And I know we don't talk about this a lot, but wallpapers are pretty important too. And I love the wallpapers that come with this phone. Which one's your favorite? And for software, we've got Android 11 running on iOS 8, which we've sort of gotten used to now. So same look and feel as the Canon 18s. It comes packed with some cool features like Ella, the voice assistant, smart panel, peak proof, one-handed mode, and a couple other ones. And also not so great features like bloatware apps, or even worse, the zero screen. I guess the more we talk about this, the higher the chances they'll actually fix it. When you're on the home screen and swipe right, you'll find the zero screen, which shows you a bunch of weird and sometimes explicit content. So to disable that, you have to go into desktop settings, then other settings, then turn up zero screen, and it should be gone. And not to forget, it probably wouldn't get Android 12 too, sadly. So far, great performance, great battery life, design is preferential, but I think it's nice. The display is solid, but the software is like 7, because no updates. But how are the cameras? Now, even though the Pova series isn't meant to focus on that, I would say I was impressed with the cameras. It's mostly a 50 megapixel sensor because the other 2 cameras are almost useless. We have got a 2 megapixel depth and a QVGA lens. Well, the main camera did really well under the sun. Even portrait mode was exquisite. I generally think these are great cameras. Now, I noticed that the photos looked worse when taking the photo, but after I took the photo, it got better. A prime example was this selfie. The sky was completely blown out in the viewfinder, but then I was surprised when I got home and looked at it, and it wasn't anymore. Basically, I like the cameras, but tell me what you think in the comments. Video looked okay. It shoots up to 4K with no form of stabilization, but to get stabilization, you have to turn on ultra steady mode, and that brings it down to 1080p 30 frames per second. And you should get a better video experience. Okay, so this is the rear facing camera, currently shooting in 4K, and there is no stabilization on here. Okay, so now I've switched to 1080p 30 frames per second. This has ultra steady mode. I would say the footage definitely looks a whole lot more steady and clean. There's a bit of noise around me, but there are 2 mics on this phone, so please let me know how well I sound. One cool thing I also noticed was if you turn on the flash, it lights up the entire edges around the phone. And also you can't use the flash once your battery reaches 15%. So yeah, this is the Tecno Pova 5G. It goes for 147,000 naira, and it's a really impressive device. Powerful and great battery life. I think those 2 are the 2 main things it has got going for it. And if that's what you're interested in, well, you won't be disappointed with this. And if you care about cameras as well, these are okay, but they're not great. So you might want to wait a bit for the Canon 19 or to see, what the other competitors come up with. But if it's just the battery and performance, I think you'll be happy with this. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you when you see me.